So I'm Edward Riker. The topic I chose for the informative speech was cars. I decided to go with electric cars to make it more specific. I chose to take a stance and provide some thesis points to back my standpoint up and do an argument, basically. So, without further ado, let me read what I have so far. So, the climate crisis is more apparent now than ever, and one important innovation that promises to help mitigate the effects of climate change is electric vehicles. Some debate exists about whether electric vehicles are better for the environment than gasoline vehicles. Are electric vehicles really better for the environment than gasoline vehicles? As part of my research for this project, I've investigated government data, websites, scientific research, policy initiatives, and publications to find the truth. By show of hands, who would say they care about the planet, animals, and the environment? I know that growing up in the Pacific Northwest, I'm proud to say that I live in one of the most beautiful and purely awe-inspiring natural environments America offers. I love the natural beauty around us like so many others do. I grew up within line of sight of Mount Rainier, and I have fond childhood memories of swimming and fishing in Lake Tapps, Spanaway Lake, and the Puget Sound. I think that most of us can identify with our love for the Pacific Northwest. As a result, many people in this area are aware of environmental issues and value clean transportation while seeing the need to move away from fossil fuels. By the end of this presentation, I hope to convince or even nudge one of you closer to trusting electric vehicles as a reliable way to reduce your personal impact on the environment. Electric vehicles are better for the environment than gasoline vehicles, and I hope to put some myths to rest. Electric vehicles produce less greenhouse gases than gasoline vehicles. They are overall more efficient than gasoline vehicles, and they reduce particulate emissions while improving air quality. In reality, Earth has experienced record temperatures every year since the 19th century, when fossil fuels and coal were first used to power transportation, and the amount of greenhouse gases in our atmosphere began to rise at an unnatural rate. Throughout their lifespans, electric vehicles produce less greenhouse gas emissions than gasoline vehicles, even during charging and manufacturing. In fact, CO2 emissions from electric cars over their lifespans were as much as 89% lower than a gasoline-powered car with a similar lifespan. With proper recycling of the battery at the far end of an electric vehicle's life, the emissions from production can be cut down by another 60 to 65%. Because electric vehicles have no tailpipe emissions, their impact on CO2 from operation is also naturally lesser. Transportation is an ever-increasing cause of greenhouse gas emissions, and by using electric vehicles, we can slow the progress of climate change by using a mode of transportation that emits far less. Electric vehicles also use the energy required for movement more efficiently than gasoline vehicles, where most of the fuel in a gasoline vehicle is wasted. According to the U.S. Department of Energy, as much as 68% of the energy produced by gasoline is lost to heat in the engine. Only about a quarter of the energy that gasoline produces actually propels your car. Compare that to an electric vehicle. In an electric vehicle, 22% of the energy on average is regenerated when the car brakes. Add to that the fact that at least 65% of the energy output from an electric vehicle is used to propel the car. And the total between both regenerated energy and energy output from the battery is between 87 to 91%. So, to put it simply, gasoline cars waste at least 68% of their fuel. Electric cars waste only about 10% of their energy. This provides a huge benefit to the environment because we know that the energy used to power electric cars more closely correlates to the actual usefulness of the energy, and there is less waste. Whereas with gasoline cars, the cost of using and producing gasoline largely outweighs the real benefit, as most of the fuel is wasted anyway. Not to mention the greenhouse gases produced from using that fuel. Electric vehicles also produce less particulate emissions and air pollutants from wear and tear than their gasoline counterparts. Right now, nearly 90% of people in the world are experiencing air quality below what the World Health Organization deems to be safe. And this is due in part to air pollutants from transportation. Particulate emissions come from internal combustion of the engine in the form of soot and exhaust. They can also come from brake pads grinding off against a rotor, which will create a fine dust. These particulates not only create smog and poor air quality in our communities, but they also worsen lung conditions like asthma, COPD, and emphysema. And these pollutants can endanger people's lives directly. Reducing the amount of these pollutants is important to protecting the environment because the quality of our air also affects the quality of air that animals breathe, like our livestock, and the quality of water that we drink, since air and water mix, in addition to making sure that our planet is livable for future generations. Let's review what I've covered today. I shared that electric vehicles are less emissive of greenhouse gases, more energy efficient, and they produce less air pollution than gasoline cars. Electric vehicles are indeed better for the environment than gasoline cars. Electric vehicles have no tailpipe emissions, and even during manufacturing and recycling, they produce less CO2 than gasoline cars do. The energy that is used to power these cars is almost directly proportional to the power output that electric vehicles offer, which makes them more energy efficient than gasoline vehicles. And finally, the pollutants produced by wear and tear are far less than those of gasoline vehicles. As I wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. I have to admit that I wasn't entirely sure that electric vehicles were better for the environment before I started this research. I was, however, pleasantly surprised to learn that electric vehicles do have some major advantages. Did anything surprise you about this information presented today? Did you have any preconceived notions about electric vehicles that might have been dispelled today? In light of what you learned, would you be a little more open to the idea of driving electric and reducing your impact on the environment? That's all I got. So, let me know if there's any way I can improve this. Maybe I can work on this wording a little bit to make it a little more explicit. My second thesis point about electric vehicles being more energy efficient than gasoline vehicles. I can see some improvement there. It seems really wordy to me. So, let me know what you think. And, that's all I got right now. Thanks.